fish. So just be careful not to stain everything blue.
Okay. And then we have somebody from the CDFA is attending right now. And it's an expert on the fruit fly.
Yeah, hi. Good. I was going to say good morning, but it's the evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, my name is Dayna Napolillo, and I work for the California Department of Food and Agriculture. I'm an environmental scientist supervisor here in Southern California. And I was invited to come and, just give a brief update of what's going on with the fruit flies right now, especially.
I lost audio.
Oh,
I can hear her.
you can hear me?
Chris, can you hear?
Can you hear me, Chris?
Now I can, yes.
Okay. So yeah, I was invited to come and speak and just give you guys an update on, what's going on with the fruit flies here in Southern California. And answer any questions you guys might have. I'm not an entomologist. So, keep that in mind, but I do know entomologists, and I can, if you have questions and, I don't know the answer, I can definitely get you some answers if need be. So, I don't know if you want me to just start on what's going on and where we're at in terms of the quarantines and just the fruit flies.
Well, I would say if somebody doesn't know what the fruit fly is, a lot of people don't know. They just think it's a fly that eats fruit, and that's
Sure.
about it. And it's not a big deal. We have flies, and so from there.
Yeah, sure. So we have we have native fruit flies, and then we also have invasive fruit flies. And the obviously the fruit flies that we deal with, my program deals with, are invasive fruit flies. They're not native to California. And so when we are trapping all the time throughout California, and that's how we find them. We have a whole trapping program. They're serviced, at frequent intervals. And then if we do find suspects, they get sent up to our lab to be ID'd. And then depending on what type of fruit fly it is, that determines where we go from there. So invasive fruit flies are not native to California. They are very destructive to the fruit and the industry. They have different host lists, and anything on that host list, the female will lay her eggs inside the fruit, and then the larvae will burrow out of the fruit, and it becomes inedible. You open it up and it's just a mush mess that you do not want to eat. The larvae will fall to the ground, they pupate in the soil, and then they emerge as adults from there. So as you can imagine, for California, with the 400 different crops that we grow, it's a very serious thing, and so we establish these quarantine areas depending on how many fruit fly finds that we get, and there's a different trigger for the different types of species of fruit fly. So right now in Southern California, we have 4 fruit fly quarantines. We have an oriental fruit fly quarantine. We have a Mediterranean fruit fly quarantine. We have a Zugodagus tau, which is new, quarantine. And then we also have the Queensland fruit fly quarantine, which is also new, brand new to California. So with that said, any and everybody that's within these quarantine areas is signed up with compliance agreements, be it if they're fruit sellers, nurseries, farmers markets, growers, packing houses, what have you. And then they have various protocols that they need to follow in order to ensure that the fruit stays free from the fruit flies, so that it can continue, so they can continue their, their business, but while also adhering to the regulatory protocols of getting it so that we can declare these things eradicated.
Do the fruit flies attack the fruit at any stage of the development of the fruit, like when it first gets pollinated?
Well, so yeah, that's a good question. It's really depends on the fruit fly. So we do have for the Queensland fruit fly, we're in terms of like strawberries and things like that. If this helps, we're allowing the strawberry growers to start doing treatments on their strawberries at petal fall. So it's really once the fruit starts to develop, that's when you can come in and lay your eggs. I do know that if it's like something like a citrus and it's really hard and it's green, that's not generally considered a host yet. But once it starts to soften and ripen, then it becomes more of a host.
Is Natural Light GF120 a viable option?
Yes, that is what we actually use as the organic for growers. That's the approved product that they use for the organic. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the other one is malathion with the new lure bait added to it.
Yeah, they're not going to be spraying it like they did in the 1980s, right?
No, no, they're not. And so yeah, so we again with just all of the fruit fly quarantines that we're having, in terms of for you guys, I think what's probably important is to look for signs of fruit fly infestation. If you see anything, it would be like little punctures in the fruit. And then once you were to cut it open and start to eat it, if you saw a larvae, obviously that could be something. It could be a native. It could be a native. It doesn't always have to be an invasive, but so if you found larvae or something like that in the fruit, that would be something, or little punctures in the citrus and things like that, where she's punctured the outside of the fruit. I will say too that the areas where we do have the quarantines, if you guys aren't up on that, is the oriental fruit fly is in San Bernardino and Riverside County. The Queensland fruit fly is in Ventura, and then we have the two other fruit fly quarantines, the med fly and the tau fly, are in Los Angeles.
Not in Orange County?
No, not in Orange County, no.
Yeah, I had a customer bring me a sample sometime in January. I sliced open, I can't remember, it might have been a Valencia orange, but it was some type of orange, and you could see a dark entry hole.
Okay.
And sure enough, I sliced it open, and we found the larva. There was 2 or 3 in there crawling around, and they did exactly what you said. They mushed up, destroyed the fruit internally. And I said, one day they're going to leave the fruit and fly away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how long does that take for the life cycle of the fruit fly, and how many?
Yeah, so in the warmer months, it can be as short as 30 days. In the winter months, it can be more than 100 days. They go more dormant. They're less active in the winter because it's colder. And in the summer, she can lay her eggs, they come out and hatch, and it could be no less than 30 days. So it just kind of varies. And it's temperature dependent. So it depends on actually where you are too, in California. So up north, they can be a little bit longer. And then of course, the warmer it is, the shorter it will be. So we have had quarantines where they come on in the summer and they end up, they're 90 days, which is great because it comes and it goes. And then we get them when they start close to the winter, which is what happened this last year. And so we had a lot of quarantines starting as it was getting cold, which then made the life cycles, I think in San Bernardino and Riverside, they were, at one point, 100 and something days, which is tough because we have to go 3 life cycles without finding any more in order to declare them eradicated. And we put out more traps in a quarantine area. We're servicing them more. We're doing treatments on fine sites and adjacent properties. We're doing fruit cutting. So we're monitoring the situation to make sure that, you know, we're if there's any in the environment, we are going to find them. So that way we can safely say that, yes, it's been 3 life cycles. They're eradicated at this point.
Is there parasites that are controlling them?
So not to my knowledge. I actually asked one of our entomologists about that too, just in anticipation for this call, and there's not really anything that he was aware of that, you know, that would be something to use as a biocontrol or something like that. Yeah, we do for Mediterranean fruit fly, we do. And I'm sure you guys heard this on the news, the sterile males that get dropped, you know, all over the LA basin. The news made it sound like it's something that we do when a quarantine hits, and it's a brand new thing, but it's not. It's actually something it's a regular program that happens 7 days a week, 2 flights a day, where we're dropping millions of sterile male Mediterranean fruit flies all over the LA basin. And the idea there is obviously that they're going to mate with the wild females. If there are any, they're not going to produce any offspring, and then they just die. So that's a regular protocol that we have in place that we do.
Any good news? Any good news on the Asian citrusillid Huanglong Bing?
Yeah, I wish I could say yes. My program, we used to regulate that program, but because it became such a thing, and again, you know, with the spreading and all of that, citrus became its own division, right? So I'm not fully up on any of the particulars of that program, but we do work closely, especially with the fruit fly quarantines going on. So there's a little bit of an overlap there. But I do know that, you know, they have found HLB in more parts of San Diego. And then of course it has, you know, spread more in Los Angeles, and I believe Orange County too. And then it's also in Ventura now for the actual HLB Huanglong Bing disease. So I don't know. I know they are working on it. And I know, you know, citrus has got a lot of backing, especially with the industry and things like that. So, you know, we'll see what they, you know, come up with and get done with this thing. So, yeah.
Maybe trees in the future. UCR is breeding the Australian finger lime, the genetics into new citrus, and hopefully be resistant to it. So I heard that. I think Frank told that too. So thank you, Frank.
I've heard that too. That would be great. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think that prevention is probably the most important. Again, like you said, the GF 120 Natural Light is a good product. We use that product for the growers. And it's something, I don't know if you guys are able to. I know for the growers, they have to have a site ID with the county in order to purchase it, at least the one that we have, that's the approved one for the growers. It has a certain EPA reg number that we have to match up to, and that I think you can only get through, you know, you can't get it at Home Depot or anything like that. You have to go to a wholesale pesticide supplier. So yeah.
Anything good, but say imidacloprid?
Imidacloprid?
What they call Cortec. It's a 20% imidacloprid tablets they're putting at the base of trees. Then it's systemic. The nicotinoid gets in the tree for a year, or I mean.
Oh, you broke up for me, Chris.
There's a product Bayer makes called Cortec. It's a 20% imidacloprid. It goes up into the tree systemically for a year, being a nicotinoid. And would that help with fruit flies? Or, you know, not so much?
I don't think so. There was There was a systemic treatment that we do have nursery and plant sellers use if they want to. It doesn't get used that much though. I don't think I've ever even done a treatment with it in my time at CDFA, but it's the diazinon. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that is one of the soil drench treatments that nurseries and plant sellers can do, that allows them to move their plants sooner than would be for keeping it on hold for one life cycle, especially in the winter when they have to keep it on hold. If it had ripening fruit, we would strip the fruit, and then those plants get placed on hold for a life cycle. And then they're able to sell them. But if they do the diazinon, then they can you know, in a shorter time period. So that is,
Yeah, I didn't know diazinon was systemic.
yeah.
I sold it for years, and diazinon AG 500 in gallons. Gosh, I always thought it was a contact insecticide.
Hmm.
I didn't know it was systemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't sold diazinon for 25, 30 years.
And I think they're actually, and I think we've had some calls about this. I think that it's starting to get phased out, and we're gonna have to look for a new, like they're not manufacturing it anymore.
Yeah, like Dursban or Clopyrifos or something.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I turn off, because I go to bed at 7 o'clock every night? I know I'm very boring.
Yeah. That's great. You know, if anybody has any further questions for me, I mean, I could put my information in the chat. And I encourage you all, if you do have more questions about the fruit fly quarantines and any more information on our CDFA website, if you just were to Google CDFA, there is a fruit fly landing page that's right there on our homepage that will take you to you know, all the who's who and what's what of going on with the fruit fly quarantines. So
Well, thank you, Dayna.
yeah, you're very welcome.
Frank, I don't know if you're still there, but
I'm still here. So, okay,
So-
so I think that discussion went really good between you guys. It got a lot of information out than questions people might have had. So, and then I'll message contact information too.
but thank you for the invitation, and I hope it helped. So nice to meet you, Dayna, and Frank, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I'm gonna turn off right now. So I got to head off to bed.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate
Okay,
your
thanks.
speaking.
Thank you, Frank. Bye-bye.
I do see, I opened up the chat just really quick. I saw someone had a question about Huang Long being. So that's so that is the citrus, they also call it citrus greening, or HLB for short, and that is the actual disease that citrus trees. So what happens is that the psyllid, the Asian citrus psyllid, which is the bug or the pest, it is a vector for that disease, and so it's carrying it. And if it does have that disease, when it feeds off of stems and leaves of citrus, it injects it into the plant, and then it will kill the plant. It will kill the citrus. So that's what Chris was talking about in terms of trying to develop citrus resistant plants to the actual disease, because it's, as you can imagine, for industry and the citrus industry and all of that, it's kind of scary in terms of it will kill the tree eventually. So that's what Huang Long being is, or HLB for short. So, and I'll just type in my info here if anybody has anything later they want to discuss with me. You know, I am in Southern California. I am a supervisor here with CDFA. So and I deal with quarantines. Again, the citrus quarantine for ACP and HLB, that did become its own program. So if you had further questions about that, I do know people that work in that project, in that program. So I can also, you know, get you more information about that as well. So,
I mean, if anybody wants your contact information, they can send me a request and I can send
oh,
it to them. That's
yeah,
make it simpler. Because since this video will be on YouTube,
okay.
then you don't want 20 million people contacting you.
That's true. Yeah, right. No, I don't. It's a good point. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So we have basically, it'll be shared to, there's 1,200 people in our email list. Then the storage organization has 2,300 people. So, and then everybody has a chance to get exposed to this.
Okay.
So, and a lot of people didn't think the fruit fly was a big deal.
Yeah.
And then they were concerned about the old spraying methods. My thing is, if people transport the fruit from these other areas in here, they could bring it here.
Sure. Yeah.
And they don't understand if they go, oh, if I rinse off the fruit, they can move it. No, because it could be in it.
Right. Right. It can be in the soil. Yeah.
And if if you mulch or if you grind up the fruit or whatever, then that's considered okay. Or if you dry it out, dehydrate it, usually that's okay.
Yes, if you process it in terms of, you could make it into, jam or jelly, or, you know, freeze it, dry it, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, on freezing it, does that work? Does that kill the larvae?
So it depends on what you mean by, if we're talking about on a commercial scale, so that is a lot bigger process in terms of getting it approved by the project. We have to, the facility where it's happening, this is all considered a post-harvest treatment. And so what that means is it hasn't been treated prior to being harvested. It's afterwards, and it's a USDA approved process whereby they have to go and visit the facility. They have to make sure that it gets down to a certain temperature for, depending on what temperature it's at, it has to stay at that temperature for multiple days. There's probes that have to be used in order to verify that this has happened. What's the facility like, who's tracking all this information, all that kind of thing before any facilities can even be approved for that in terms of doing like a freezing method. So it's quite a lengthy process in order for that to be something that would be approved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your interaction with Chris went really well because there was a lot of questions, like I said, that people would have asked that he
Mhm.
asked. And
Yeah.
he's the owner of Orange County Farm Supply.
Oh, okay.
So he interacts with a lot of people and a lot of growers.
Yeah.
So, and then he posts little notices up. So, I'll send him your contact information. If you can send him any like documents that he can post, he can
Okay.
print and post,
Sure.
that would help.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
and then if you have any literature you could send him, like the glossy stuff that you guys give out at stuff,
Yeah,
that might help
right,
because it might be
definitely.
better quality than when they print it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you can just show it to people and, get all the information out as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good idea.
So let me see. Let's see if somebody,
Okay.
okay, I don't know if can you think of any other stuff to ask or mention?
No, just again, just, being proactive, if you, just taking a look, and if you do, see any signs of fruit fly activity, which would be, again, like I said, the punctures in the fruit, or again, larvae, if you were to open it up. And then, just if you have friends who live in the other quarantine areas, and in talking with them, and just making sure that they understand, and they do, because we are doing outreach and speaking with everybody in the quarantine areas. But it's really, we all have to work together in order to eradicate this and get all of these quarantines over. And so it's a group effort. So that's all I can really say in terms of anything else, and going on the website and looking up, information on particular areas or fruit flies that you may have further questions about.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I don't see any other questions.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate being invited, and if you guys have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or our pest hotline. There's also that, which is also on our website as well. So I appreciate it.
Okay, cool.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for attending.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna shut down the meeting, guys.